Good morning and welcome to Who is Sitting in Your Chair. Today we're going to go over hairstyles that we see on social media when we only see the back. And we look at the back and we go, oh, that's so gorgeous. And I've just been going on this fascinating journey where I've been mimicking, trying to literally recreate a hairstyle. And that's never been my career. I've always wanted to innovate, and I kind of dive into my own inspiration. But every so often a job will come along where the client will say, I want it exactly like this. Or I see something and I go, oh my gosh, I want to nail that look and just add it to my repertoire. So I've been doing this in an extreme way. And what's been really fascinating is, number one, when something is edited down to 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, obviously there's a tremendous amount edited out. The fiddling, the fussing, didn't work the first time, it fell apart, put it back again, together again, until it's this perfect reel. And clearly the reels that you see the most of are those that have a million followers. And that person's probably practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced to get it so beautiful. And then it's been edited and edited and edited. We, in our naivety, look at it and go, oh, that looks so easy. How many of you relate to that? Just give me a thumbs up, either in the chat or visually a thumbs up. And you get yourself into a pickle. So having just done a 2-day bridal boot camp, which is now available for you guys if you want to actually go and look at the replay of it. It was a whole lot of fun and I learned a tremendous amount. I thought, right, wouldn't today be interesting if we analyze the back of a hairstyle, but I show you how to make it work for different face shapes, because clearly some hairstyles where you just see a gorgeous back, you clearly know that's not for everybody. And when one puts hair up, keeping it fresh and not mumsy or frumpy, that's a good word, frumpy, it can go into frumpy world really, really quickly. Now, when you have someone very young and very edgy, their youth and their edge upscale that look. So whether it be retro, whether it be nostalgic, but even when you go into retro, you have to add something different in there. So as we go on this journey today, I'm just so thrilled to have you all here. And I really appreciate that you've given me your time. So we're going to dive into the subject. So first of all, I'm just going to go out and share my screen. So looking at this hairstyle here, super, super pretty, right? There's a little bit of softness that's falling out. We know that as this hairstyle would move around, it could quite easily get wingy as the lady is moving, like start to lift up. And some of the soft pieces coming out would be lovely. But it's got a drape, it's drooping down. Now, clearly we don't know what the other side is like, but my sense would be that it's symmetrical and it's a drape and it's closing in the face. So can you all see that? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Kim. So then the next thing is here, look at the sides. Again, it's a droop. It's not a tuck behind the ear. Again, stunning, gorgeous hairstyle. But it's a drag and a droop. Now, there's nothing wrong with a drag or a droop, but it's a very specific face. And usually it's in the 20-year-old category, because usually at that time, not too much has dragged and drooped. Even I didn't drag and droop at the age of 20. Now everything drags and droops. So when we look at the faces that can take a drag and a droop, they are faces that have a wider frame at the top of their head because they can have closure. And they have small jawlines. Their jawline isn't going into their neck. There is a distinct jawline, but their head is quite wide here. And sometimes the chin can be quite pointy. Now with the diamond, obviously she needs to be built up on the very tippy top. And she can have a little bit of closure at the sides, but she's got the face shape where she's got the point here. So they very often can take closure quite well. So the only way you're ever going to know this is voguing around the face, clearly. That's going to be always your go-to. But let's look at the elongation of a hairstyle. So that the face shapes that love the elongation are those who are obviously either an oval head shape, which is our pear, and she needs to be built up on the top of her head. And sometimes some elongation is attractive to the pear, just to stretch things out. And your round does very well with elongation, because when you elongate a round, guess what you get? Oval. That's all it is, right? An oval. So as we're going through here, the other thing that I would like to consider, unfortunately, I don't have a profile of this hairstyle, but I want you to just take a moment and look at these face shapes. The face that's more sunken in with a strong jawline. So think of like Jay Leno as the extreme of that strong jaw. Very often the bite is out a little tiny bit, very strong jawline. So when you do a hairstyle like this at the profile, you have to be careful that you're not exaggerating the old chinny chin chin, right? It actually got to be very, very, very careful. And if you look, if this line here was taken more here, lower down, lower at the back, you could like bring out the nose more, and you could build it out through this area here, this region. Now here, this is lengthening the chin, lengthening because of this. So this on the top of the head is very good for someone with a very small chin, because you're lifting them up. Where conversely, if you were to come from nose out this way and elongate this way, that would be quite dangerous. And obviously with your straight profile, it's like an oval. Anything works. So there's never a problem with that. So when we're looking at a hairstyle like this, where we've got the trailing and the drooping, we have to be very, very careful. Now on a round, you can see that there's some volume on the very top. So on the round, that elongation will work very, very, very well. And bringing in the softness in the side, kind of closing down the face, will work well also. But again, there's always an exception to the rule. And sometimes someone can be round in the lower, square at the top, and they can have a combination face shape. So that's where you've got to always vogue around the face. So now when we look at this hairstyle here, and I'm going to take you on a journey of this hairstyle for different face shapes. I'm going to try and do this hairstyle 3 times for you today. So here, if I see I've got this type of face shape, my goal is to build all the volume of the top, a little elongation, and I have to determine how much I want to lift that jawline through here, because when it's a true pear, it tends to be more plump. It's more of a chubby lower face, versus you can take somebody where they have a very chiseled, very strong jawline, and they have chiseled cheekbones, but they just happen to be very, very narrow. Their hairline may grow very, very close on their forehead. It's the kind of client that you think sometimes, oh my gosh, sometimes I see it with beautiful Indian ladies where their hair grows quite low on their temple area, and they're like a perfect candidate for electrolysis to bring back the hair through there and just open out their face more. So again, it's that sensitivity and it's that voguing. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this hairstyle 3 ways: low, at the occipital, and then on the top of the head. And I'm going to do it so that I'm going to change the framing around the face. So I'm going to adapt this look quite a few different ways. So I'm going to get into the hairstyle right now, and I've just got to remember what I'm doing. So let me just stop my share here and bring this little girl in, and let's get moving and grooving. So does that make sense so far, what I'm speaking to? That seeing just the back of the head and not knowing what the front is like can be quite dangerous, because you put all this time and energy into the hairstyle, and then you turn her around and then she doesn't like it, because she's not really looking at the back that often, is she? So I'm going to, first of all, this was a mannequin that was from our bridal boot camp. Let's just brush her through. And let's start the sectioning. So the first thing I will always do, I do it on everybody, is I vogue around the face. I never bypass that. It's my time to get acquainted with the face shape and really imprint in my mind, what does this face like and what does it not like? So I will always go through my measurement. And sometimes I do this not for me, but for the client. I know, I can see. And then I'm looking in through here. Okay, so that's where I'm going through there. Welcome, Lindsay. I hope you had a wonderful time on your cruise. So
Thank you.
keen to hear all about it.
Yes, yes.
So here, what I'm going to do first of all is, if this hair is coming back, so now I start my rehearsal. This hair is coming back. This will be in my braid, right? I already know that the hair's going to go low into the into the nape of the neck. So I say, okay, that's going to go there. So then I just come in and I go, right, let's just rehearse this. There's my first thing. This is going to come through here. Now, this is the danger, because in the back of this hairstyle, with this coming back through here, with the ballet bun that's going to be ballet bun here, you know, here's our ballet bun. There's our belly bun. Now here, this has got to come through here. Now, what very often is gorgeous is that when this comes through here and is soft, and then you start pulling it apart, and then pulling it apart and pulling it apart and pulling it apart. So now you've got this gorgeous droopy drapey. But then from the side, if she has got any weight underneath her chin, you have really made her look quite unattractive, to be honest. And when you come to the front, it's like, what the hell is going on there? So I'm going to do it so it has a great back, just to show you. And I know, and then it's like, well, what am I going to do here? How is this not going to be frumpy Annie? That's going to be going on through there. Now, the other thing is, what happens when I flatten her down? And where do I put volume? And when do I lift up? So, you know, at the end of the day, when some people get jammed up about face shape, the one place where you can never go wrong is measuring the law of three. The law of five, I pay more attention to the eyebrows. You know, are the eyebrows too close together? Or are they too wide apart? Do they finish way too early? And they really always need to be here like this, right? The triangle, the classic triangle. So it's straight up through here, from nose coming through here. So when you look at the face, there are so many triangles. This is the hexagon around the face. But when you look at the face, there are so many triangles going on that you're working with, right? In terms of like through here, the lift. So I'm always going to go, right, where's my proportion? Because if it's not proportionate, it's a clever hairstyle that just doesn't work for the face shape. And it's always got to be proportioned to here. So now I'm going to look and go, right, do I like the volume in the lower part of the face? Yay, nay. Do I like the skinniness of the face? Yay, nay. Is she looking gaunt? Is she kind of saggy? So I've got to be looking at all of those things to know, how do I emphasize or minimize? That's what I'm always doing. Emphasize, minimize. So what I'm going to do first of all is section off this hair here. I know what I'm doing now, sort of. And I've never done this hairstyle before, so you're going to see how good or bad it is. And I want to walk you through my thought process as I'm going through here. So I vogued around the face. I am very aware of, you know, features and benefits. I'm separating all of this off here. So this is going to be my braided area, and I'm just going to spin her around in a moment so you can see. And then on the underneath is going to be the ballet bun, and then this is going to drape back. So I'm going to, first of all, get rid of the hair on the underneath so that it's not in my way when I'm braiding. So I'm just going to take this here for right now and just clip this. Right, so now I'm going to go into my braid. So this is where it's like, okay, well, what kind of braid do I want? Do I need to tease before I braid? Like, where am I going to go with this? So obviously, you've got to be working on the top of the head. So I already had this teased and backcombed up, which is actually working in my favor. The question is, do I want the parting? So I actually think it'd be quite nice to even play with that parting. So I'm going to do the braid on the top of the head. And the key here is that I'm just going to do a regular braid. I may try different braids as we're going through here. So I'm just going to do just a regular braid and just tilt our head forward for you. So 3-strand braid. When I'm braiding, I work on the pinching technique. So that means my thumb and my index finger are pinching the hair. And then I'm just going to crisscross over. Now, when you undo a hairstyle, first of all, undoing a hairstyle means you must have a great structure, first of all. And when you undo it, it will get bigger. So sometimes you need to do it smaller. I'm sorry, you can't see the braid. You just come in here and see about adding. 1 second. I'm in here somewhere. Where am I? Oh. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm just see if I can bring in another. All right. So all I'm doing through here is crisscrossing over. With my thumb, and I'm doing the pinching action, right? So now that I've got that sorted out, I mean, I could do this intentionally so that I never look at the face and see what disaster we're going to have, but I really don't want to do that. I really want to do it properly. So I have my braid here. So now I'm going to come back to my mirror, and I'm now going to look at, first of all, how to open this out a little tiny bit and work into the mirror. I need to lift this up, and this perspective, in fact, you can see through here, that perspective and this perspective, most hairdressers live here on this lower camera. I live there. I want to be like, how does this look? How does this look? And I can see something very different from here. So now that I've got that, and I think that's quite interesting, now I'm going to come into the back. And again, I'm going to pull this apart just very gently. And I'm not going to pull it forwards. I'm going to pull it sideways. Pull it sideways, pull it sideways, pull it sideways, and start to pull the whole thing apart. Again, you know, if I'm looking down here, I'm not going to see anything. Now I'm going to raise her up. And now from there, I'm going to now come back here as far as I can. This is where having long arms is very helpful. And again, pull it apart. Right, so now I have that. And so now this is going to just gently live in through here. So I'm going to just leave that alone. And now my side sections, I've got 2 side sections that have to come through into here. So I'm going to leave those sections out for a moment. And I'm going to just take this hair here and do a little twist in through here. And I'm going to come in with my long hair pin. I'm going to harvest, harvest, and pin. I'm going to come in through here, harvest, 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 and pin. I'm now going to pull that apart a little bit, pull it apart a little bit. Now I stop and I look. So I'm looking through there. So now I've got my dingle dangles. She doesn't have any facial framing for hair. There's no wispy pieces here. So that's going to look ridiculous. So now when I come through here, I'm going to twist this around because I know that if I do the droop, so like, for example, if I droop these and then bring them in and thread them through and around into here, look how unattractive the profile is and look how unattractive that is. That doesn't work. So I'm now going to work to the mirror and think, right, this, I have a side parting here. So how about if I lift this up through here? And before I do anything, how about if I tease it? So that right in here at the ear section, she has all of the teasing. So in here, I'm going to stack and pack. When I speak about some of the amazing stuff that you see out there, it's with the greatest respect, because I can see the incredible skill and the practice. It's absolutely sensational. But what worries me is how we can get so disheartened because it's like, well, that's not really real. So if I've got that shape working there, I know I can pull that part out and fit that in, but this is where the problem arises, right? So now that's a lift for the jaw, it's a lift for the cheekbone. So now it's up as opposed to the droop down. So what could I do? Could I come in with my little tool? Remember, I'm going to show you this 3 ways for 3 profiles today. So when I come in through here and I thread through this way, I want it up higher, right? So I'm just going to come that through there. So now that's up high. So this has to be lifted. So before I make the commitment to that, I'm going to come in now with a baby Japanese pin. Where's my baby one? There it is. And I'm going to just come in here and I'm just going to sew through there and elevate that, just to lift that up. Now, before I go any further, looking into my mirror, I'm going to now bring this out, bring that out, bring that out, and just fill in that gap. So now I do my reality check here. We're kind of okay, but let's just bring in a little clip here just to make sure that stays in place. Now let's come in here and then just look at where this has landed. So I can just bring it into the chignon here, right? So again, I can come in and I'm going to harvest and pin. So again, I'm going to look into my mirror and then I'm going to just harvest and pin. I want to create my triangle. So now with this side, if it's going to come through and down, the consequence is this way. So now in bringing it down, again, I'm going to go back to that droop. And as I said, some faces can make it work, but not all. I'm now going to tease this in here. Again, I'm going to tease it right in the middle section. I don't want the teasing here. Remember, it's about depth. And every hairstyle success is how you create the depth. And photographically, that's what the camera sees, the depth of the hairstyle more than anything else. You really want to capture that. So if I'm going to now come through here again and lift that, again, I go back into my mirror. I go, right, how am I going to lift that up? Because I don't want the droop. I'm now going to go, right, well, I've got to twist this somehow. So I'm going to twist that and lift that up. So I've got the front looking good. The side looks good. Now, what about the back? So now if I'm going to come through here and twist that, and obviously it has a little bit of a difference now, left to right, I can come in here and sew up and down, up and down, up and down, and sew that through. So it's got that lifted. Now here, this has got to come around or over. Over's better. So again, I come back to my mirror. I'm going to take my little doodah and thread that through. Thread that through here. This is only going to work if you've got the hair not pinned too tight, because once it's pinned tight, this becomes really tricky to pull through. You see, you can get caught on a pin. And that's exactly what it's done. It's just got the one pin in the hair, right? Isn't that unbelievable? The one pin. So now we start to pull this baby apart a little tiny bit. Anything you don't like, you cut off. So now I'm going to come up eye level, right? Eye level here, and obviously get rid of the little bits that don't make any sense. This is going to come out in a few moments, so I'm not going to pin this to last. This is just a moment. So have that sorted, have that sorted. So now with these any little naughty pieces that are sticking out, we want to, so I remember I said I was going to do the first hairstyle at the nape of the neck. The second time I'm going to do this is going to be at the higher up, and then I'm going to do it on the top of the head. I don't know how, but that's what I thought. So sometimes my ideas are too ridiculous for words, and we soon find out that that did not work. So now I got to look at the shape this way. So right now she looks really, really flat. So I'm going to now, I'm going to just go over here, and I'm going to come in now and start taking some photographs of this. So you can see now how I'm going to fix this so that it looks really, really quite decent. So I'm just going to be looking at the silhouette first of all, and we'll see what happens. So now I'm just doing my journaling. So I see something in here that it doesn't overexcite me, to be perfectly honest. I see some problems. So I'm going to photograph that. I'm now going to look at the back. I'm just journaling right now. So here it's okay, but it needs to be broken up a bit more. So now when I look at this hairstyle, I go, okay, so it's not like the most awesome of shapes. Oops, get rid of that. That's okay, but it's a bit boxy. It needs more air. This is okay, but it's not really as strong a silhouette as it could be. And the first one, it's okay. So I'm going to pause there, and I'm just going to now bring myself in bigger here for a moment so that you can see this. Let me just see. Yeah, so on your screen, you should be able to see this pretty big. All right, so now I'm going to go in and start fixing this because I've got to fix it from a fashion perspective, but I've also got to fix it to face shape. So there's two strategies I have here. So first of all, stepping back, I'm just going to spray this very lightly. Right, so I've now raised that up there. Here, from my journaling, I feel like it's a bit boring through this side. Now the back is okay, clearly, the back's fine. So I'm just going to spray this lightly here. Now I'm going to just start to pull some of this apart more so. And maybe I'll even come in here and give it a bit more of a gap so that it's not a solid panel compared to before. I've broken that up. This I'm pulling apart more. I know from profile she was looking flat, so I'm going to lift this out more. That makes it better. I know I need a triangle in here, so I'm going to just nip that in a little tiny bit. I'm going to step back as much as I can. And on this side here, it's okay, but it needs to be lifted up. So you can see that I have it secure, but now I'm refining. I'm refining the hairstyle. And I'm going to now pull some of this over here, pull it over here. And I'm now going to create some more valleys and peaks in here. So now when I'm looking at that shape, I can still see a hole right in there. So if her face shape needs the lift of the jawline, having it flat in a box is not helping her. And do I need to bring it in up a bit more to help her jawline? So if I need to bring it in up more to help the jawline, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just sew and slide that through. Oops, let's see the pin. And just raise that up, pull that out a bit more. So that is a significant difference to before. Now, just photographing it square like that doesn't work as well as just maybe turning the shoulder a little tiny bit so that she has a little bit more depth there. That looks weird. Just tilt it maybe a little tiny bit there. All right, so now I'm just trying to find my angle. That works quite nicely. if I raise this up a bit more through here. Not sure if I can, but let's see. Yeah, that's better. Now we go to the back. She's a little square on one side, and she's rounder on one side than the other. So let's just take a look at that. So you can see here, I've got a box on one side and I've got roundness on the other. So I would need to come in here again and just make sure that it's a little bit more balanced in there, pull out the other side, and you can only see this. Now, this applies to hair color placement, haircuts, it applies to everything. It's a shape. So now when we look at that and we go back in here and go, right, okay, now what do we have? I definitely improved it. I see a gap in here, so I've got to bring that out. And now from my other side. So she's got to pass the 365-degree test, right? Shoulders look narrow, that doesn't work. Everything you do photographically, you know, this photograph should earn its keep. Sorry, I may be making you a bit giddy here. But this should be earning its keep. So now when I come to the front, does it pass the front test? So I'm going to look at the different placement through here. Okay, so now we've got our journey of where we began, the evolution, and with our very first photos. And there's a huge difference between this and when I scroll through here, looking at where we ended up. That compared to the very beginning. So we've got the hairstyle loose and soft. We could certainly pull it apart more. Obviously, I'm looking at something that's rooted with highlights, so I'm not going to have the same amount of depth. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to now raise this up higher. So I'm going to see now how I can pull it apart and raise it to the occipital bone, and then do my comparison between that. So as I'm going to do that to the occipital bone, I'm going to just look at the position that we have here. So I'm just going to bring it back in, lower her down a little bit, raise this up. There we go. All right, so now I'm thinking, right, she needs to come up through here. So I'm going to just take out the bottom part of this and see what happens to her profile when I raise the center up. So the braid can stay, and I can start to also pull the hair apart a little bit more, because if you can take every exercise you do as a healthy challenge, as opposed to, oh my God, that so did not work. If you're in that mindset of, oh, it did not work, then you're not learning. And what we want to do is we want to learn from every single experience. So I'm just going to raise this up more through here. And I'm going to just lift that to that place. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to sew. So the big thing I want you to get from today is how much I'm using my mirror. So this now is going to come all the way up through here. It's going to come higher. So I'm just going to twist this. And I'm now lifting the jawline, lifting this jawline up higher. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this part. Let's see if I can make something pretty.
Viv, can I just share a little challenge I had this week, actually?
Yeah, please.
It was a bridal trial, rectangular face, gorgeous girl. She really wanted that glam, wave. So up in the front, back on the side. And I should have known because her face is rectangular. But I honestly didn't realize until I took the pictures and she left. And then I was looking over the pictures and her hair was too high in the front. So it made her face way too long.
Oof.
So I ended up messaging her back because I should have looked at the pictures before she left so that I could have played with the forehead. And like sometimes I can't see it in the mirror, I can only see it through the camera lens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the camera flattens everything out. The camera's perspective is like you looking at the world through one eye. The camera's got one eye.
Right.
You've
I
got
was
two.
super frustrated with myself about it, but now, so now because I seen it, I have to go back in and change the way her front is. And I'm just thinking if I would have looked at the pictures or studied her face shape a little bit more before I did that style, I would have avoided that entire situation.
Absolutely. So you know what? The problem began before you picked up the tools
Right.
in really, really voguing around the face. How much time did you spend voguing?
I did spend time. I just got too into the hairdo and forgot about her face shape. Like,
So that means you didn't stop and look, stop and look, stop
right.
and look, stop and look, stop and look. You did not do all of that. So look, right now, look how many times I'm stopping and looking because I'm making a profile shape. I'm trying to lift her up, right? So now I've been looking at the profile, but there's a consequence. I only looked here. But what has happened here now? I've got lovely wings. So if I bring this down, let's just bring it down just so you can see. From the front, she'll be droopy again. She won't look fabulous. So now from here, I've got to fix this back and fix the sides. So what that tells me is, which is fantastic that you're sharing this, is that you didn't stop and look anywhere near enough.
Yeah.
Like do look, do look, do look. So the camera was the result of all of your hard work, but you weren't looking beforehand to really see how the image was radically changing, right? And we're all guilty of it, actually. I'm as guilty of what you just said or what I'm saying to you as the next person, because we get into the hair and the whole it's like having a dinner party and only talking to one guest.
But I mean, at least I've seen it before the actual wedding date, so we can fix it. Like there is still room to fix. And like I probably never would have because I wouldn't have checked out those pictures had it not been for this, you know?
Yeah, yes, yes. Well, and that's fantastic. And what did the client say?
She agreed.
Yeah.
Like you could even see it in her body language. Like she loved it, but like something about it wasn't right. And then I didn't see it until I seen the pictures. So
Yes,
she
yes.
agreed.
Yeah. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have now raised this angle up, and we're only going to know the difference of this when I show you the photograph of the previous one, which is all I'm doing right now is photo journaling. And I'm just looking to see what I can do to change this look. And obviously the parting in here is very, very distinct. So now if I'm wanting to get rid of that parting through here, it doesn't look as though I will be able to, unless of course I blow dry it out. So that's not going to happen. So I'm not going to mess with something. Actually, I can pull it through here. Now, in this type of effect, what does work extremely well. So you've got the elongation. You've got to be careful of how much height you put up through there. So I've now taken the weight from down there. So you can see now this is the line coming right the way through to here. This side looks quite nice. Got to step back for a moment and look. I'm not a fan of that huge drag back. What can I do differently there? Let's see if we can indent it. Not quite sure whether we can, but let's just see. And that gives it another kind of vibe in there. Remember, any hairpin that you're putting in is about the locking. Got to come up through and lock. Okay, so that works better. That works better. That works better. That works better. Little flat there. Again, this is where most hairdressers live. This is where they live. Very rarely there in terms of, I used to be the stylist in the salon that would be always turning my client around. I'd always be rotating her around and around. I would look at here and I'd turn her and I'd turn her and I'd be looking in here. I never, ever, ever just had my client like this in the chair. Never, because I wanted to see every angle and I would always step back. And I would always have clients say to me, this was always the funny thing, it's amazing how you can see you thinking. Because I was so busy thinking. Right, so we're going to take a photograph of that. So I raised her up. She's higher in the front. Is this helpful, guys, what we're doing? Right, so now I'm going to come to the back. And I'm going to look to see my shape this way. And you can see I still have the original style in there, but I'm starting to really change it. And then the next thing we're going to do is go right to the top of the head. So, you know, sometimes just turning a little bit works better. So now when we're looking at this, we can see, I stop to look and I clearly can see that's the hero shot, not that. When I'm coming in here and I go, right, do I really have it? I'm also going to be looking at my lighting. I'm just going to say, right, if I'm going to filter this, well, that's way too much. And I'm going to filter it. Does that work? And now I can compare. Got a bit more pop to it, right? So now what I'm going to do is, so I photograph that side. So now I'm going to come in and photograph this side. And again, get the shoulders right, get the position good. And this would be really nice with a headband, a very thin headband. So now I just move around and just see. Now I've got to get the proof of the front being absolutely gorgeous. Otherwise, what's the point? And again, when you take your photographs, take your time. I mean, I'm going through this a little bit quicker, but I'm looking for that sweet spot. I'm looking for the face shape. And just looking to how that is coming through here.
Vivienne, do you have a headband handy that you could show us?
Yeah, let me see. Probably.
Because I'm afraid, sometimes I get afraid of accessories because I feel like it's going to mess up the shape.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And it can, for sure. Let me just see if I've got one here that I can use. 1 second. I may have. Always put this on first. If you know that you're using an accessory, absolutely rehearse with the accessory before you're finished, because otherwise they can destroy a hairstyle so quickly. So with this here, bringing this through. It totally changes. And where you put this, see, I love a headband. So now when we look at, now when we look at the profile of her, it's still got to hold up, right? And then sometimes with these headbands, you have to pin over them to hide them. And sometimes they can look really great. So now when we go back through here, we go, right, okay. Oops. Come on, darling. And again, the more you can step back and look, the better. So I'm pulling that apart, obviously. I'm going to give it a whisper of water. And it starts to become much more modern compared to. So you needed the headband in order to create that effect, right? So now coming through here, I'm going to look at some different angles. So this has a more, this is much more romantic. And obviously, depending on where she's going and whatever, this is a very, very, very different sensibility. So this is quite a difference when I'm looking at this here, like I've now cinched that in. So now compare that to droopy. When now getting a shape, and there's much more work that could be done there. So just to kind of illustrate the point, let me make sure I've got all the angles. Yeah, the huge difference. So now I'm just going to do this side. And obviously when you put them together and style them, Misty always does a wonderful job in making the mannequins look almost human. It's incredible what you do, Misty. So here I see like a gap in here, so I'm just going to raise that up a little tiny bit. But for every action, there's a consequence. If you only look at the back, then the back is brilliant, but what about the front? If you only look at the front, what about the back? And what the problem is with many of these hairstyles is that when you do get them right in the back, you know, does it really suit the client's face shape? So for example, if I now want to just do the hero photograph, right, with this, when I'm going to that place and I'm going, right, okay, what's the hero shot through here? I'm going to be looking at where is the absolute killer part of this photograph. I mean, that's okay. So now I'm going to take a look and say, right, how do I make that even better? Would it be amazing in black and white? Would it be more interesting if it had more drama to it? Would it be more interesting if it was cropped a little tighter? And now I can, again, train my eye and go, okay, so that's that shot. But, you know, and look at what starts to happen when you start to really like look for the perfect angle. Because there'll always be the hero shot, clearly. There always will be. So if I'm going to say, well, that's not the hero shot, like, is this the hero shot? Just in here. I'm just going to come in. And again, go to looking at how can I make this have the wow factor? So now she's been on an interesting journey from, you know, here we're starting to get something quite interesting, clearly. And how she went through sagging tighter. And that's always got to be in relationship to shoulders and body type. I mean, if she's got a fuller figure, you've got to make the whole thing a lot bigger. And just seeing how the headband, and thank you, Sarah, for the ask there, quite different in terms of where she was and how she's moving along. And then where she is here. You can see that's much more of a droop down, right? Much more droop down. So now when we go to the next one, when we're looking at the next hairstyle that we're going to do, is I'm going to now take her up to the tippy top to see what happens to her profile that way. And I'm even going to keep the headband in. I can see that it's sort of working, so why not keep it in? So now I have gone from low at the occipital. Now I'm going to go through here. And when I'm designing here, so Vicky, when I'm designing this way, I'm now going to be saying, right, where does that lifting point need to be for her face shape? And the other thing I would highly recommend is if you can actually be explaining this to your clients. You see what I do when I lift you up here? Can you see what happens when I do this here? You just want to be always looking and stepping back and don't rush that process. There can be the anxiety of, I've got to get it done, I've got to get it done. And then in that rushing, at the back end, you're fiddling and fussing. So, you know, that is where the danger is. You fiddle and fuss at the end, and it's like, if only. So now I'm going to raise, obviously this is going to be quite different. I'm raising this up through here, and I'm going to give her that shape there. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to pin this into place. I'm going to harvest and pin. And I'm going to stop and look at that shape.
I think another challenge is I never know what to do with weird chins.
It's called
Like seriously though, if it dips back too far, I'm supposed to put it up on the top. Like, how do you, I don't know.
Well, again, that's voguing. Again, that's voguing around the face. Now, there's photographically, there's something I quite like about one piece hanging down. But when I spin her around, it's not as interesting unless I can put that on the underneath. But it's quite interesting the way that plays out through there. So I'm going to now just grab this hair here, and I'm going to make my shape, because I said I'm going to now lift this up to the tippy top. So here I go. I'm going to put this in here. But yeah, jawlines, well, you've got to ask yourself, if I close in and hide the jawline, or whether I open it and I can lift it. So that's always going to be a play. And again, you know what you can do when you're not sure is take the client's phone, do a photograph, let her see, let her be part of it, right? And see how that plays out. Now, that looks really ugly. Damn, that looks ugly. Let me go back to the front. Let's see if we got the front sorted. Well, the front kind of works. I've still got my braid in there. All right, so the profile is nice. It's a bit flat there. This is really ugly. Let me just see what happens if I put this under the headband. I'm not sure whether this will work. It may do. But having a few little accessories like this in the salon is really quite nice, actually, because, yeah, that works better that way. Right. So now if I start to lift this out. Right. So I've got to ripple into this somehow. Now there's going to be a huge consequence for what I just did in the profile. Yeah, saggy again. So you have to know that some of those hairstyles that are not necessarily meant for the client to be walking about and so on. I mean, I'm noticing now, it almost feels like people are listening to me. I'm not starting to see now that they're starting to show a little bit more of the front in some of these reels. It's like, come on, guys, enough with the back, as much as I love it. So now we're lifting that up a lot more. You can see it in the front, you can see it in the back. If she comes in tighter through there, it has more drama. So I'm going to dimple that in a bit. And then the power of stopping. It's just amazing what happens when you just stop and walk away. So obviously a big part of this is how I pin. And you'll notice I very rarely use a bobby pin. It's not that it's a bad pin, but very often they don't do the same work as something like this. And, you know, when you're on a photo shoot, this is the speed that I work. You know, next, get that model there, next. She's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Why is she leaning? I don't know, but that's way too pointed. The camera will not like that. I can tell you right now. I should probably photograph it just to show you, but it won't like a cone. So I've elevated this up, and what's interesting is it doesn't look anything like the first hairstyle, but we've been on a wonderful, wonderful face shape profile journey. And, you know, at the end of the day, when you're working with your clients and you have them fill out the consultation, is face shape the most important thing to them? If you get the face shape right, will you have beauty? Is the fashion the most important thing? Is the sensuality the most important thing? If you get that sensual thing, what does she carry the most in her presence? You know, does she sort of like float into a room, or is she like, you know, power woman? Like, where is she? And, you know, it's identifying that. That is an important part of the whole thing. So this seems to work quite well with that piece down, especially now it's tucked underneath. So we've got a shape that works quite well. It's much more dramatic when I cinch it in tight. So this is the other problem. You make it, and this applies to a blow dry. This applies to so many things, layers. You get a great shape, and it looks too structured. Then you undo the structure, and then you lose your shape. And you literally are flirting backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. So now when I bring her in here, raise her up, squint my eyes and look at the silhouette. I know I'm going to find some problems, but let's let the camera is our reality, right? So let's just now go and share. And now I do the test all the way around. How is the shape holding up? There's a few dodgy pieces in there. And the tail coming out of her chin is really unattractive. So let me just fix this, right? So the hair coming out through here does not work, so we get rid of it. So many times, especially like in bobs, you'll see the hair on the other side coming through and it's like, oh, that does not look good. There I had a gap. And the key with any of this stuff is how do I make it look more modern, right? That's always going to be your challenge. How do I make this be more modern? So now the tail's coming out the back. I don't want to see it at all. There we go. So now when we look at that photo, composition, centered. Now we look at that compared to that, there's a huge difference. That's clean and powerful. What the hell is all that other crap going on? She's got a beard. She's joining the Amish. And so now again, we go around and we do our test and make sure that the shape balances from every single angle. I have a feeling the tail's not going to look that great in the back. And this is where the problem lies very often, but that's not too bad. I don't like one piece I see here, which is the long panel here. This panel, I don't like that. So it has to be indented. So I'm just going to go in and dimple it. So that was an interesting learn, putting that piece of hair underneath the band. That's quite sweet. And now let's see if she stands up to the front on test. And if it's not right, don't take a picture, don't. Or you want to take a picture just to journal what's happening, but don't, if it's not sitting right, don't go there. So now what we have is, I sent this to my husband this morning. Don't you just love that? I think in my former life, I want to look like that. I don't want to look like a human being anymore. Okay, so as we go through our journey, let's just look. The weight set at the nape of the neck. We refined the shape. We tried to make it work well, square, a bit better, getting better. We tried to make it work well from every single angle. Obviously, when you bring pieces out on a hairstyle like this, if she's got facial frame, which most of our clients would have, that will make a huge, huge difference. I didn't have that, so it made it even harder. Here we have her raised up on her journey, looking at how she's evolving. Headband made a huge, huge difference. Saggy back. Very powerful in black and white. And now we have her higher. So we now have the shape completely lifting up. So now you can see the elevation of the jawline in this particular look, which makes it really quite interesting, right? So we just stop my share. So what I just want to show you now, and then I'm just to open up for some conversation to just get your thoughts. So what I've tried to show you today is the journey from the nape of the neck, occipital, crown, with, you know, the similar kind of vibe. What I wanted to point out is I love this hairstyle, but what I do know is that because the way it's draped, I guarantee it's a very flat profile, very, very flat profile, because when you twist the hair like that, in that low chignon, the beauty of this is the drape. So the hair is up at the front, up here, but she's got the drape and it's gorgeous, but that would be a very hard hairstyle to wear. And it's best in the back, which is why it's photographed in the back. This, very severe, very severe. So chiseled bone structure, someone who's exotic, who can wear a very strong look, someone whose top of their head needs to be made smaller, and they have a very sweet little jawline. Because it's down and severe and there's no backcombing. It's very youthful, and in a severity, it can look stunning. So again, we're looking at those face shapes where if you close and drape and drag, their jawline is looking really quite nice, right? When we're looking at our oval and our round, obviously our oval can wear anything. But our round, we're looking at trying to make it be an oval. So we elongate our round shape. And when you look at all the face shapes have volume and squareness in their jawline, a strong jawline, they very, very often can take a drape, but you do have to build out the sides and sometimes asymmetric top of head. And obviously with our rectangle, her face needs to be shortened. So that would be the important thing. So you won't believe this transformation without cosmetic surgery. So some of you may have seen this, the concave profile. You can see here how her profile is really dished. And notice where her ponytail is at the top of her head. So what you have is a point here from the chin all the way to the top of the head, where it just emphasizes her concave. Here, the ponytail right in the nape of the neck, so it gives so much volume to the jawline and to the nape of the neck. So for this particular young lady, she would not do well with the ballerina bun at the nape of the neck, right? She would not do well. She would not do well with this at the top because it elongates her chin. Will not do well with that. See the thicker neck. Thicker jawline. But this is the same girl now with the ponytail just at the occipital bone. And the most important thing, the facial frame of the hair draping across, and she now has a straight profile. So now when you look at concave, and then you look at straight, that is a huge, huge difference in beauty. So it doesn't matter that you've done the most perfect ponytail in number 1. It doesn't matter that you've done the most perfect chignon in number 2. What does matter, and you can do a sloppy version in number 3, is the balance and the proportion. And so what I've shown you today is how you discern and how you look at the hairstyle from every single angle. So with this lady, a professional model, she had no occipital bone, totally flat, 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 and it looks tired. Now, when you see her final look, you can see how I built up the back of her head to give her a lot more volume, and that's a huge, huge difference. So at the end of the day, a great hairstyle works from every single angle. Start with your rule of 3. Look at your profile shape. do not pick up your tools, vogue around the face and discern, where is the beauty of this hairstyle? Where is it? How do I bring out the fullness in the face? How do I bring out the slenderness in the face? What am I doing in the neck and the jawline? And so when we're looking at the hairstyles that lift up, you can see that with this particular silhouette, obviously our straight plane works really, really well. And for myself, I'm not really a fan of the concave, but the convex, elongating the chin will be very, very, very important there, right? Now here with the ballet bun, putting that weight in the lower part, clearly we can see if she has a concave face shape, you're just gonna, you're not putting the weight in the right place. And then also the convex, it's not in the right place. You've got to be very, very careful because those chins, the concave chin is pointy, the convex chin is weak, and the straight profile is perfect, right? And so here, looking at this silhouette, again, the straight plane would be totally fine, but you'd have to be very, 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 very careful on the convex and the concave because it's a very flat shape, very, very flat. So you've got to know when you're lifting and when you're closing down, if that makes sense, right? So I presented a lot to you. So let's go around now. Questions or insights or anything you had today. What was your aha or questions? So Vicky, does that make sense what I said to you today in terms of when you go back now and pick up your tools again and do your magic?
Absolutely. Yeah, this was really, really helpful. Thanks so much, Viv.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Ellen, does this make sense for you?
Hi, Vivienne. I love today class. Not really, but there are lots of the aha and thinking about the balancing. And I have a suggestion. Is there any chart that write everything about the face shape and the head shape in the briefly, like the note you sent after the class? Because today I found I have to go to all the videos and get the note and minutes by minutes write everything. So, but it was very interesting class today. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So you know what? If you go, Ellen, through the course of the live events, like today, there's many, many more. And generally, I focus on one face shape. So the more you go back to those, it's helpful. I will obviously put these photographs into the presentation, but to simplify it, Ellen, just working on 1, 2, and 3. And as I showed you, when you're looking at the profile, your ultimate goal is to make that profile straight. And, you know, again, if I just go back there for a second, when I'll just go back here. When I'm, oops, what happens? Let's go to this lady because she's a very typical. When you look at this lady's face and you look at how weak her jawline looks very weak in number 2, and her neck looks really fat in number 2, because everything is like the weight of the hairstyle sitting too low and the chin is just kicking out. So all of that volume is happening, where if you look at 3, her jawline looks really amazing. And because I gave her a fringe, I brought her forehead forwards. That's the key. I brought her forehead forwards by letting that drape of hair be there. And because I lifted her chin and gave it more of a lift, you see, her chin naturally wants to go down. This lady, she's a lovely lady. When she will not age that well in this region, she will be the lady that when she is probably in her 50s, unless she does a little bit of work, would be the one where her chin and her neck are rolling into each other, because she's naturally got that sag there now, and she's 20. So this is a face shape that will kind of merge in there. This is the perfect candidate for neck lifts. I mean, I think every woman needs a neck lift by the time they reach 50. It's just amazing what it does. I've been seeing so many neck lifts, not facelifts, necks. And it's just like, wow, when you clean this up, it's just incredible what happens. And it's also posture. You know, if someone doesn't stand tall and stand lift up here, and they do, then they drop down into their body. And today, you know, the number one culprit of bad posture is the phone, because we're looking round shouldered into the phone. But if you bring your shoulders up and back and lift here and bring your phone up here, that's not very comfortable. It's much easier to stoop over the phone. So posture today is a big problem. So we're going to have more and more clients round shouldered, neck coming out forwards out of their shoulders, as opposed to lifting up here in the chest, shoulders up, back and down, military stance or ballerina stance, however you want to put it. But that elongates this whole area through here. So the fringe was as important as where that ponytail is. And you'll do that by voguing and looking profile. You'll lift and down. And I don't care whether it's, as I say, a haircut or color. Where can the color shadow? Where can the color lift? Where can I take the eye away from this area here so it's a distraction? You want to take the eye somewhere. And when I'm photojournaling, I'm looking like, okay, where am I going to take the eye? Where am I going to do that? And that's where the magic occurs. So, and you know, it's practice and practice and practice. And I promise you, the more you vogue around the face and you move and position, you're looking for oval. That's all you're looking for. You're looking for oval, you're looking for your 3, and you're looking for straight. You get that right, you can do an average hairstyle and it will be brilliant. If you get it wrong, you'll do a genius hairstyle technically that looks sometimes ugly. I know that, I've done it, right? So that's the big thing there. So any questions from anybody or anything you'd like to share as to like your big learn today? Because it's always great to hear back from you guys.
You know, excuse me, sorry, I had something in my throat. I really loved it when you misted, when you were misting with water as you were pulling. You go, I need to use a little bit of water. I've been pulling too much. In my experience, I would have just stayed in it and not done that, and not stopped and done that, because then it kind of gets it a little bit easier to control, right?
Yes, yes. Oh, definitely. Well, sometimes hydration is what it needs. It just needs to rehydrate, and the little flyaways just sort of just nestle back in, and you've got to be very careful because water's not always the friend of every head of hair. So just a gentle mist can just hydrate, just replenish, because it will dry out again, right? And if you look at any product, the number one ingredient is water.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you know,
I love that.
Yeah. So be mindful. Be mindful. Riley, my love, what were your big learns today?
You know, actually, I really liked the slide you were just on with the ponytails. I was telling Tina here, I go, you know, when we get into formal stylings, if you're not sure where to place it, that's a great idea to, you know, put the ponytail top, middle, and bottom just to see. Maybe it will pull out something that you didn't see before.
Yes.
So I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah. And in Who's Sitting in Your Chair is a video all on profiles. And we do the ponytail exercise. So you could even take yourself and put your ponytail high, medium, and low. My challenge to you would be do a whole series of selfies, center, side parting, etc., etc. Lisa, love your new short haircut. You look fabulous, my love. fabulous, fabulous. But do the selfies and see what the difference is for you. See when you put the volume, do a teasing at the crown and do profile. I mean, it's pretty easy to do. And my emphasis would be that when you're working on your client, if you do a photograph and then you're just looking through the phone and you're doing the consult to the phone, sometimes the message comes through clearer as to, look, that looks really, really pretty. Because at the end of the day, how many women have you met that are 100% comfortable in their skin? It's so sad. And I've worked with some of the most beautiful women in the world. I've even worked with supermodels during the supermodel period. And it's just amazing how there's something not quite there. It's only getting worse because retouching and AI models are these perfect porcelain. They're not real, right? I mean, I showed you what I want to be. I want to be a pussycat. Oh my God, I'm going to come back as a cat. That's scary. But it's getting more and more distorted, and younger people are going in and doing all these things. And while I think a little bit of magic, a little bit of enhancement's great, at the end of the day, it's our job to find where that client feels comfortable. Some women feel they're most comfortable when they are their most feminine. Some women feel they're most comfortable when their face feels smaller. Some women are more comfortable when they have a bit more edge and sparkle because they're such a rebel. Some women feel more comfortable when they're absolutely following the trend that all of their friends are wearing, right? So you've got to find what is the signature part of where they live and build around that. So if femininity is really important, you build around femininity. That's your anchor. If face shape is important, she doesn't like her jawline, she doesn't like her neck, you build around that first, you lock that in, everything else is layered. But if you try and be all general and broad, you lose your focus. You've got to start somewhere. So proportion, it's a science. It's kind of sad and lovely at the same time that we only have women right here today watching. We have a lot of men on that are members. They're not here. Where are you, men? Do you just use your charm and say, darling, don't worry, I'm going to take care of you? Do you do that? Right? Women in particular, it can't be your opinion. It has to be a science. And the science of this is the golden rule of design. And there's a science that backs it up. And there's so much evidence to prove this a truth as to correct proportion and how human beings respond to a balanced face. And it's a science. So the science is simplified by the law of three. And if you look at the golden rule mask created by Leonardo da Vinci, you'll see all the triangles in there, the hexagons in there. It's very complex. I've just simplified it. So between now and the next time we meet, play with ponytails. If you have a client that comes in and you can do high, medium, low ponytail, photo. If you can do it with yourself, just play around and pay more attention, because then that eye, you're taken to where you put your bobs, where you put your lobs, where you put your layers, where you put your facial frame, where you do your accent colors. It will all cross over. I did this today because it's a faster learn than showing you 3 haircuts, but that's the magic of it. So I want to thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you found great value. And I look forward to our next time together, right? Okay,
Thank
guys.
you, Vivienne.
Take care.
Bye.
You look gorgeous, Lisa. I love it.
Thank you. Thanks.